The old man will. The old man will.
United States Patent Office, Nikola Tesla of New York apparatus for transmitting electrical energy, 1,119,732, specification of letters patent, patented December 1, 1914, application filed January 18, 1902, serial number 90,245, renewed May 4, 1907, serial number 371,817.
To all whom it may concern, be it known that I, Nikola Tesla, a citizen of the United States, residing in the borough of Manhattan, in the city, county, and state of New York, have invented certain new and useful improvements in apparatus for transmitting electrical energy, of which the following is a specification, reference being had to the drawing accompanying and forming a part of the same. In endeavouring to adapt currents or discharges of very high tension to various valuable uses, as the distribution of energy through wires from central plants to distant places of consumption, or the transmission of powerful disturbances to great distances through the natural or non-artificial media, I have encountered difficulties in confining considerable amounts of electricity to the conductors and preventing its leakage over their supports, or its escape into the ambient air, which always takes place when the electric surface density reaches a certain value. The intensity of the effect of a transmitting circuit with a free or elevated terminal is proportionate to the quantity of electricity displaced, which is determined by the product of the capacity of the circuit, the pressure, and the frequency of the currents employed. To produce an electrical movement of the required magnitude, it is desirable to charge the terminal as highly as possible. For while a great quantity of electricity may also be displaced by a large capacity charged to low pressure, there are disadvantages met with in many cases when the former is made too large. The chief of these are due to the fact that an increase of the capacity entails a lowering of the frequency of the impulses or discharges and a diminution of the energy of vibration. This will be understood when it is borne in mind that a circuit with a large capacity behaves as a slack spring, whereas one with a small capacity acts like a stiff spring, vibrating attain the highest possible frequency, which more vigorously. Therefore, in order to, for certain purposes, is advantageous, and apart from that to develop the greatest energy in such a transmitting circuit, I employ a terminal of relatively small capacity which I charge to as high a pressure as practicable. To accomplish this result, I have found it imperative to so construct the elevated conductor that its outer surface on which the electrical charge chiefly accumulates has itself a large radius of curvature. It's composed of separate elements which, irrespective of their own radius of curvature, are arranged in close proximity to each other, and so that the outside ideal surface enveloping them is of a large radius. Evidently, the smaller the radius of curvature, the greater, for a given electric displacement, will be the surface density and consequently the lower the limiting pressure to which the terminal may be charged without electricity escaping into the air. Such a terminal I secure to an insulating support entering more or less into its interior, and I likewise connect the circuit to it inside or generally at points where the electric density is small. This plan of constructing and slip-orting a highly charged conductor have found to be of great practical importance, and it may be usefully applied many ways. Referring to the accompanying drawing, the figure is a view in elevation and part section of an improved free terminal and circuit of large surface with supporting structure and generating apparatus. The terminal D consists of a suitably shaped metallic frame, in this case a ring of nearly circular cross-section, which is covered with half spherical metal plates, PP, thus constituting a very large conducting surface smooth on all places where the electric charge principally accumulates. The frame is carried by a strong platform expressly provided for safety appliances, instruments of observation, etc., which in turn rests on insulating supports FF. These should penetrate far into the hollow space formed by the terminal, and if the electric density at the points where they are bolted to the frame is still considerable, they may be specially protected by conducting hoods as H. A part of the improvements which form the subject of this specification The transmitting circuit, in its general features, is identical with that described and claimed in my original patent's nose. 645,576 and 649,621. The circuit comprises a coil A, which is in close inductive relation with a primary C, and one end of which is connected to a ground plate E, while its other end is led through a separate self-induction coil, B, and a metallic cylinder B to the terminal D. The connection to the latter should always be made at or near the center in order to secure a symmetrical distribution of the current, as otherwise, when the frequency is very high and the flow of large volume, the performance of the apparatus might be impaired. The primary C may be excited in any desired manner from a suitable source of current G, which may be an alternator or condenser, the important requirement being that the resonant condition is established, that is to say, that the terminal D is charged to the maximum pressure developed in the circuit, as I have specified in my original patents before referred to. The adjustments should be made with particular care when the transmitter is one of great power, not only on account of economy but also in order to avoid danger. I have shown also in order to avoid danger, I have shown that it is practicable to produce in a resonating circuit as EABBD immense electrical activities measured by tens and even hundreds of thousands of horsepower, and in such a case, if the points of maximum pressure should be shifted below the terminal D along coil B, a ball of fire might break out and destroy the support for anything else in the way. For the better appreciation of the nature of this danger, it should be stated that the destructive action may take place with inconceivable violence. This will cease to be surprising when it is borne in mind that the entire energy accumulated in the excited circuit, instead of requiring, as under normal working conditions, 1/4 of the period or more for its transformation from static to kinetic form, may spend itself in an incomparably smaller interval of time at a rate of many 40 million s of horsepower. The accident is apt to occur when the transmitting circuit being strongly excited, the impressed oscillations upon it are caused, in any manner more or less sudden, to be more rapid than the free oscillations. It is therefore advisable to begin the adjustments with feeble and somewhat slower impressed oscillations, strengthening and quickening them gradually, until the apparatus has been brought under perfect control. To increase the safety, I provide on a convenient place, preferably on terminal D, one or more elements or plates, either of somewhat smaller radius of curvature, or protruding more or less beyond the others, in which case they may be of larger radius of curvature, so that should the pressure rise to a value which it is not desired to go, the powerful discharge may dart out there and lose itself harmlessly in the air. Such a plate, performing a function similar to that of a safety valve on a high-pressure reservoir, is indicated at W. Still further extending the principles underlying my invention, special references is made to coil B and conductor B. The latter is in the form of a cylinder with smooth or polished surface of a radius, much larger than that of the half-spherical elements PP, and widens out at the bottom into a hood, H, which should be slotted to avoid loss by eddy currents, and the purpose of which will be clear from the foregoing. The coil B is wound on a frame or drum D of insulating material, with its turns close together. I have discovered that when so wound, the effect of the small radius of curvature of the wire itself is overcome, and the coil behaves as a conductor of large radius of curvature, corresponding to that of the drum. This feature is of considerable practical importance, and is applicable not only in this special instance, but generally. For example, such plates at SP of terminal D, though preferably of large radius of curvature, need not be necessarily so, for provided only that the individual 85 plates or elements of a high potential conductor or terminal are arranged in proximity to each other and with their outer boundaries along an ideal symmetrical enveloping surface of a large radius of curvature, the advantages of the invention will be more or less fully realized. The lower end of the coil B, which, if desired, may be extended up to the terminal D, should be somewhat below the uppermost turn of coil A. This, I find, lessens the tendency of the charge to break out from the wire connecting both and to pass along the support F. N. Having described my invention, I claim 1. As a means for producing great electrical activities, a resonant circuit having its outer conducting boundaries, which are charged to a high potential, arranged in surfaces of large radii of curvature so as to prevent leakage of the oscillating charge substantially as set forth. 2. In apparatus for the transmission of electrical energy, a circuit connected to ground and to an elevated terminal, and having its outer conducting boundaries, which are subject to high tension, arranged in surfaces of large radii of curvature substantially as, and for the purpose described. 3. In a plant for the transmission of electrical energy without wires in combination, with a primary or exciting circuit, a secondary connected to ground and to an elevated terminal, and having its outer conducting boundaries, which are charged to a high potential, arranged in surfaces of large radii of curvature for the purpose of preventing of energy substantially as leakage and loss set forth. 4. As a means for transmitting electrical energy to a distance through the natural media, a grounded resonant circuit comprising a part upon which oscillations are, ion, having its outer conducting boundaries on which a high tension charge accumulates arranged in surfaces of large radii of curvature, substantially as described. 5. The means for producing excessive electric potentials consisting of a primary exciting circuit and a resonant secondary having its outer conducting elements which are subject to high tension, arranged in proximity to each other and in surfaces of large radii of curvature, so as to prevent leakage of the charge and attendant lowering of potential, substantially as described. 6. A circuit comprising a part upon which oscillations are impressed, and another part for raising the tension by resonance, the latter part being supported on places of low electric density, and having its outermost conducting boundaries arranged in surfaces of large radii of curvature, as set forth. 7. In apparatus for the transmission of electrical energy without wires, a grounded circuit, the outer conducting elements of which have a great aggregate area and are arranged in surfaces of large radii of curvature so as to permit the storing of a high charge at a small electric density and prevent loss through leakage, substantially as described. 8. A wireless transmitter comprising in 30 combination a source of oscillations as a condenser, a primary exciting circuit, and a secondary grounded and elevated conductor, the outer conducting boundaries of which are in proximity to each other and arranged in surfaces of large radii of curvature, substantially as described. 9. In apparatus for the transmission of electrical energy without wires, an elevated conductor or antenna having its outer high potential conducting or capacity elements arranged in proximity to each other and in surfaces of large radii of curvature so as to overcome the effect of the small radius of curvature of the individual elements and leakage of the charge, as set forth. 10. A grounded resonant transmitting circuit having its outer conducting boundaries arranged in surfaces of large radii of curvature in combination with an elevated terminal of great surface supported at points of low electric density, substantially as described.
Nikola Tesla, witnesses M. Lamson Dyer, Richard Donovan.
I wanted to thank everybody for watching today. If you like this kind of content, we do a live show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the main channel. The link will be in the description. Please join us, get in the chat, and have some fun. With all that said, hit the music.
The old man built. The old man built. The old man built. The old man built.
The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. gears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition, that world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old